Hi there and welcome to Starflight 2016's first ZBrush tutorial. Today I am going to show you how to import a character from Daz Studio 3D into ZBrush so that you can create some basic clothing for it. And then I'll show you how to export it or move it from ZBrush back into Daz Studio 3D and conform it to that character. So let's get started. All right, so first of all, we're going to go ahead and start up ZBrush, and my machine's pretty fast, so it takes almost no time to go ahead and get started. ZBrush is now running, and I already have Daz Studio installed along with its basic characters, and today we're going to use the Genesis 3 female, and we're going to go ahead and just change a couple of things before we go ahead and send it to ZBrush. First of all, you're going to go to load your character, and I already have her in here. And we'll go to parameters, and in here you're going to see something that says mesh resolution, and you need to turn that subdivision down to its lowest form before you can export out to ZBrush. You can do it without doing that, but the clothing and anything you create doesn't come out right. So once that's done, you're going to go to File, and down at the bottom where it says Send to ZBrush, you're going to go ahead and click that. And first of all, select our character. Then we'll go to File, Send to ZBrush. And you're going to want these two little things checked: export at current resolution and export with deformations. And we'll go accept. And it'll dump it in there. And once it's in there, you go ahead and left click and drag, and it'll drop that character in there. And then you press T, so that'll put it into edit mode, and F to frame it. And if you hold the shift key and move your mouse, it'll of course straighten her up so that she's standing upright. So now that we have her in there, we're going to go ahead and start some basic stuff. I like to go ahead and turn off the back-facing polygons since we don't need to see them. So if you press Control and go up to where it says Brush, and you click on that, you go down to where it says Auto Masking, and you click on that. And down here in the middle it says back face mask. You're going to go ahead and click that, and that'll shut that off. So now we're not going to be going ahead and masking off any back facing polygons you can't see. So go ahead and hold shift. Go ahead and hold control and left click, and you can mask off anything that you're going to create. In this case, we're going to go ahead and just create, your basic, say a half bodysuit. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and do this. And like I said, it's not filling in any back-facing polygons because you're not going to see them anyways, so you don't need to do those. So go ahead and fill that in, and let's get that all nice and straight. And there are two ways to create clothing. You can use your basic extraction tool in ZBrush, which I'll show you what that is, and you can also use another form, which I'll show you a little bit later. So at this point, let's just see if we can't get some things straightened out. If you right click anywhere off the character, you can change your draw size down to something a little more manageable. And if you press Control and Alt and your right mouse button, you can zoom in. And if you just hold the Control button and your right mouse, you can just go ahead and zoom those in. And if you hold the Alt key and your right mouse button, you can pan around. Anybody who's used ZBrush before will pretty much know what to do with those there. So let's go ahead and fill these in. If you press the X key, that'll give you the ability to do both sides at the same time. That makes things a little bit easier for some people. And we'll go ahead and fill those in, and we're almost done. If you need to unmask something, say you've gone too far, if you press Control and Alt and your right mouse button, it turns unmasking on, and you can basically unmask anything that you don't need. And again, if you've used ZBrush at all, then you know how this works. Let's go ahead and do all those, and let's see what we have. Okay, so far we have the bottom piece of it done here, and we can have some kind of form to it if you like. Some people do, some people don't. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a little shape here on the back and here and make sure it's all symmetrical. And I'll change my draw size down a little bit so I can actually maybe draw a couple of straps, and we'll mask those off. And this is all trial and error, of course. Everybody has their own way of doing things. I just happen to do things this way, at least for basic clothing. There are lots of tutorials out there that show you how to do this stuff, but I don't know if anybody knows how to just do these basic things for Daz Studio, and so that's why I'm going ahead and do those. Okay, so it looks like we got some basic strap going on here. The dark pieces that you see are the pieces that actually get created, and the light ones are just kind of shading on the edges, and those don't necessarily get changed into something when you extract. So let's go here, and we can just run a strap across the back here, and we'll undo those, and we'll fill that. Okay, so it looks like some basic stuff is done there, and we'll go up to where it says Subtool, and under Subtool you got a thing called Extract, and in here you're going to want to change the thickness of the clothing because at 0.02 it's really thick and you really can't do anything with it. Therefore you're going to go ahead and change it to 0.2 or 3 or 0.003. Okay, maybe we'll do that here. Okay, so change it to 0.003 and go extract, and it actually extracts something. Okay, so now that we've that extracted, we just go ahead and take a quick look, and it looks like it's a little messed up. So this doesn't actually keep anything. So if we move her, the extraction will just go away because we didn't accept it to keep it. But we can find out where we went wrong by looking at it real quick. And you can see that we got some deformities there, so we need to get rid of those. So we just need to quickly just unmask near those areas to straighten them up. As you can see, I just did that one. And that one is probably good now. Not quite. Okay, let's fix this. Okay, so far so good. And we got some stuff going on down here. We'll just undo those. Okay, looks like we got to fix the front a little bit on the side here. Okay, almost done. And okay, looks like that's straight. So you're also going to want to make sure anything up here is straight. And we'll take a look and we can see that it's not good. So we'll do the same and we'll just sort of clean it up a little bit. And we'll check our extraction, and you can see the straps are really wide. So we'll have to kind of clean those up a bit, kind of narrow them up. And we can do that by just running along the edge real close like, and keep at least one dark brown stripe there. And we'll undo those. This again is all trial and error. You're bound to mess up, but as long as you know how to fix it or straighten it up, it's not really broken. Worst case scenarios, you can always scrap what you're doing and start over, but there's a lot of ways to just go ahead and back up. If you press Control Z, it'll undo anything that you might have messed up. If you inadvertently delete a line, like say you go like that and you go, oh, crud. So just Control Z and it'll put it back. Okay, so it looks like we're getting there. I'm going to straighten this up a little bit. Almost there. Okay, so it looks like that's kind of basic there. We'll clean this up a little bit in the back just to say that we did it, because it does need it. It's a little of a mess there, and we don't want lines in here that we don't necessarily want. Okay, almost done there. And okay, let's get rid of this line right there. Okay, almost happy with that. Let's see. And almost there. Now, of course, there's going to be all kinds of a little bit of adjustment once we get these things, all masked out. Nothing, again, is perfect. Once we get it so that we can actually have an extraction, we'll have to clean that up a little bit probably as well. Okay, so looks like that's pretty good for your basic, looks like a wrestler's outfit at the moment. Okay, so now that that's done, you can turn a couple things on or off. We have double, which basically gives you both sides. If this is loose clothing and you have the ability to see color and stuff on the back side of the clothing, then you might want to go this route. And this other on the far right, it says T borders, is for thin borders. So if you want all the borders of the edges of the clothing thin, you can have that checked. This is a tight-fitting piece of clothing, so I'm not going to do the double, and I can do the thin border ones, and we'll just extract, and then we go accept, and it'll actually keep what we just made. And what we want to do now is select it, and you can see now that it has its own piece, and if we highlight it all over, we now have a somewhat basic piece of clothing. And what I do is I often just go ahead and make a group for those things. So we'll go down to our list of things that says polygroups, and you can auto polygroup that if you like, or group it by if it was all done up with masking, you can do it by group or by group by masked. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and auto group this one. And if I select poly F, which is this draw poly frame, it'll give me a color on my outfit. And as you can see, both the character and the clothing both have a different color. So in this case, we're pretty much done with the basics, although we might want to get rid of the belly button here in the center. And in this case, we're going to use a smooth tool to do that. And the smooth tool is basically just a brush. So to get to brushes, you push B, and we're going to move that out so that we can kind of smooth that out. So we're going to go B for brush, M for move, and then we're going to push T for topological, because we want to move that out so we can smooth it out. So if I right click and make my draw size a little bit smaller, and make sure that your X has been pressed so that you have symmetry, and now you can just kind of move that out just a little bit. I guess my brush is a little bit too small. Make it a little bit bigger, and we're just going to go ahead and kind of move that out a little bit, because what we're going to do is we're actually just going to smooth this out here in a moment with a smooth brush. Okay, so now that that's out somewhat, it's probably out a little bit too much. And make my brush small again, so I can move that back in a little bit. Okay, that's better. All right, so now we need to smooth it out. Again, we push brush, and we can just use the regular tool, which is this guy right here. And if we want to push shift, and it makes that tool turn blue. And if we right click, we can change that size to something a little manageable, and holding shift and left click, that really smooths it out pretty fast. If you want to do it slow, just push shift, and up here at the top you can see where it says Z intensity and RGB intensity. I usually turn those both down to something like 2 or 3, just because that'll slow down the process of smoothing, and it gives you smaller increments of smoothing. So in this case, you can see where it's really slow now, and it's really kind of taking care of that just a little bit. Move T again. So I need to move it out just a little bit and then smooth it out. Okay, so now that that's pretty much gone now. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to zoom out here real quick. Just take a look. It's not too bad for, you know, a couple of minutes worth of work. Obviously, there's going to be more work later on. So now that you get your clothing done, we go back to Subtool. We make sure that that piece of tooling is selected. And you can go to where it says Go Z at the top here. And if you press Go Z and it's set up properly, it'll send it back to Daz Studio. And if we go to Daz Studio, let's go here. You can see now that our character now has a piece of clothing, and that clothing it just sits there at the moment. So if you move your character, obviously, as you can see, nothing happens. Again, what we need to do is make it so that it fits the character. So if we go to Scene, you'll see something that says Extraction or Extracted in a number. Go ahead and select that, and then you're going to see this thing up here where my cursor is. And you'll come down to where it says Assets and Transfer Utility. So we'll click on that, and then when we're done, we're going to go ahead and select the actual character first. And then in this next one, the target is going to be the thing that you extracted, which is the clothing. And you can make all kinds of changes. There are changes in here, you know, whether it's a dress or whatever. And there are other options as well, which we may get into later. At this point, I'm just going to use the basics. So if we go accept, it'll do its best to conform this piece of clothing to the character. And now at this point, if I move this character, you'll see that the clothing actually moves. And if I go into poses in my content library, I can go under this character and go under some poses. And we have some basic poses. If I pose her, the clothing also will pose. So that's my first tutorial on how to do some basic clothing for Daz Studio. As I said, obviously there are a whole lot of things you can do with Zbrush, and when you get around to doing those things, you'll see how powerful both these two pieces of software really are, and you'll have a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. This is Starflight 2016, and you all have a great day. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.